The blank pages of a notebook used to terrify me. This notebook was both an invitation and a threat, a daily reminder of all the thoughts I couldn't quite capture. Maybe I didn't have time for it, or I couldn't find the words to articulate what I wanted to say. But last month, I decided to face that empty page every day. No filters, no perfect layout, just me and whatever mess was in my head. Today, I'm sharing what happened when I committed to 30 days in my notebook and the 3 lessons I learned. Before we get started, I'm going over how I use my notebook. I know I have talked about this before, but let me emphasize, there's really no right or wrong way of doing this. It's important to figure out what works for you. What works for me may not work for you. So my advice when trying to get into journaling, try everything. Use journal prompts, daily journaling, morning pages, maybe the 5-minute journal, different notebook styles, different formats. For me, I'm using a Hobonichi A6 original. It's quite small. It's 4 by 5.5 inches. That is one of the joys of having a small notebook. There really isn't any pressure to write a lot. Now, the important stuff. The inside. This is a daily planner. You get a monthly overview section, a future log. There's 100 days tracker, daily pages. The daily page is what I mainly use. It's broken up into a time blocking section here. It's very faint, but the times are listed to the left. And then there's a margin here. And then there is a blank grid section to the right of that. I use the time blocking section for daily journaling. So I journal every day in this section. And then the blank section to the right is for book reviews, book notes, memory keeping. Sometimes I collect just memorable quotes, research, and articles. I always thought there was beauty in documenting your life, to have an archive of memories to look back on. But every time I'd start a journal, at some point I'd give up. So let's take it back to 2023 Passion Planner. Oh my gosh. These spreads are so cute. I kind of miss doing this. But this one I used every day up until June 25th. 2023. I didn't finish the rest. I think this is the Midori A5. I used this June 2023. This is what distracted me from the Passion Planner. I moved on to this one. The conclusion that I came to with the Midori A5, I just didn't like having to write my own margins in. Like, I wasn't too proud of this notebook. But yes, this is the reason why I stopped using my Passion Planner. My Passion Planner was working perfectly fine. I just got distracted. I did try the Hobonichi Cousin. This thing is huge, way too much space to fill. Anxiety from hell trying to fill this notebook up. What year was this? This is another Passion Planner, but I started using a Passion Planner. I believe this was last year, 2024. Yeah, because I wrote here, Shelby is walking. 16 months. So I tried to give this a go again. I stopped February 7th. I lasted a month in the Passion Planner. So the Hobonichi A6 Original seems to be the system that has worked for me pretty consistently. It's so easy to get distracted when you are part of the stationary notebook planner scene. Last year was the first time I used a Hobonichi A6 Original, and it worked out for me. Like, even when I did get distracted last year, I would always go back to my Hobonichi A6. And because I was still journaling in other journals, I would just rewrite those entries in my A6, in my Hobonichi. So it worked out. I'd scroll through these perfect bullet journal spreads, notebooks, morning pages, and just like, oh my gosh, beautiful. I'd buy the notebook or the planner and I'd try it out. And then I soon realized there's no way that I could keep up with this. Like, I can't do this every single day. I'd put so much pressure on myself to have the perfect spread that I never bothered turning it into a habit. It just wasn't consistent. It's a common belief that you need to know everything before taking the plunge, but the truth is the doing comes first, then the momentum. So I decided to try again, but this time with zero expectations. 5 minutes every day, just me showing up. Lesson number 1 hit me around day 7. Simplicity creates consistency. Just 3 prompts. What happened today? How am I feeling? And what am I grateful for? Whichever one spoke to me that day, I wrote. It took me 5 minutes or so before bed. And something magical happened when I lowered the bar for what counted as journaling. I actually started showing up, even on my worst days, like March 25th. Really small entry. I didn't even bother filling the entire column. And then March 31st, I wrote, I'm tired. What's great about these entries is I still opened the journal. I still picked up the pen and I still showed up. Lesson 2. The second lesson caught me completely off guard around day 15. Patterns just become visible when you pay attention. I was flipping back through the entries when I noticed something weird. Every Tuesday, Wednesday, I wrote about being tired. I'm tired. Every single one. Like, the language is almost identical. Like, reading back on my entries felt like discovering a hidden script I'd been following my whole life without realizing. I saw stories in the ordinary, the magic in the mundane, and I also feel I'm living how I always wanted to. I started noticing other patterns too, like how my energy dipped in the afternoons, how certain people in my life consistently left me feeling drained. And paying attention to these details just makes such a big difference on how I can improve in the future. Once these patterns became visible, I could actually do something about them. But once these patterns became visible, I could actually do something about them. I restructured my Mondays. I protected my afternoons for easier tasks. I started asking myself, do I actually want to do this or do I want to just take a nap? And I did. I took a lot of naps last month. The third lesson is the one that changed everything. The unfiltered mind turns into a great habit. Here's the thing about journaling every day. When you stop overthinking it, when you just let the words flow without judgment, it transforms from a task into something you actually look forward to. Around day 22, I noticed something shift. I wasn't thinking too much about what I was writing anymore. I was just writing. No pressure, no performance, just me and my thoughts finding their way to the page. Before this experiment, journaling felt like another thing on my to-do list. But now, even after a long or tough day, once I put it down on paper, it was time to move forward. That release became something I looked forward to, especially if I was journaling about something that maybe bothered me, something that, I don't know, stressed me out. Once I put it down on paper, it was like, okay, I'm ready to move forward. Like, I don't want to marinate in this like yucky feeling. It's like my mind finally had permission to let go of the day, to process and reset. And that feeling of mental clarity became the reward that kept me coming back. 30 days of journaling taught me more than filling a notebook. It taught me how to show up for myself, how to notice patterns in my life, and how to let go. But the biggest revelation was this. The magic isn't having a perfect journal. The magic is in having a conversation with yourself. Because that's really what's happening. It's messy, it's honest, and consistent. If you've been thinking about starting a journaling practice, consider this your sign. You don't need fancy supplies. You don't need profound thoughts. You just need a notebook, pen, and you. Thanks so much for joining me in this week's video. I will see you all in the next one.